The future of Taiwan's arms manufacturing is on the table as U.S. and Taiwan defense analysts meet in Virginia. Labor rights activists take to the streets to send a message to Taiwan's presidential candidates. Taiwan investigates possible Chinese communist interference ahead of the 2024 election. Plus,
it might look like your ordinary Tex-Mex, but there's something different about these fast food dishes.
welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Liao with the latest. Thanks for joining us. A U.S. Taiwan Defense Industry conference has wrapped up in the U.S. state of Virginia, where security analysts and officials discussed how to best defend Taiwan. Our reporter Jaime Okan was there.
This might seem like your average hotel entrance, but behind these closed doors, defense and security analysts discuss the future of Taiwan. Almost 200 officials and experts from the U.S. and Taiwan gathered here in Williamsburg, Virginia, to talk about the best ways to ensure Taiwan's security. And after 3 days of discussions, the organizer of the conference says it was a fruitful discussion.
In the keynote speeches, in our private meetings with the U.S. government, with the Taiwan government, that there's been an evolution of the threat, a broadening of the recognition of the challenge from China, and as a consequence, the needs that Taiwan has in the national defense area.
The U.S. Taiwan Defense Industry Conference has been held annually for almost 20 years and looks to connect U.S. weapons makers with Taiwanese officials. A delegation from Taiwan's defense ministry was present, led by one of the country's deputy defense ministers. They came to the conference with a major request.
让这个整个武器的这个生产，还有它这个维持妥善，能够在国内建立相关的总能，我想这是我们所共同期盼的。我们会把这个意向跟美方做一个充分的一个表达。
The U.S. boasts the most advanced military tech in the world, and Taipei relies almost exclusively on Washington for military hardware. Taiwan has been boosting its domestic defense industry, but still needs help from the U.S. for more advanced munitions like missiles. The U.S. rarely shares sensitive military tech with anyone, but given the threat from China and its increased pressure on Taiwan, Washington is starting to consider the idea of co-producing these weapons with Taipei. Some analysts feel that's the direction the two sides should pursue.
Taiwan has a lot of catching up to do. And so to the extent that the United States could help Taiwan, whether it's technology transfer, whether it's co-production or something else, I think that we should pursue essentially everything that we can.
But beyond making weapons together, this conference also touched on the need for Taiwan to invest more in surveillance and information sharing capabilities. The idea is to modernize how the country gathers intelligence and then shares that data with other partners in the region to create what's called a Common Operating Picture, or COP. This way, countries can be on the same page when monitoring Chinese military activity.
Then you can generate a overlaid pictures. Then you can share in precise location, exactly the matters, the story, trace back 3 days ago, predict another 3 days ahead. This is a COP. It's just a tool. But without the COP, senior leaders, based on their imagination, reading 3 pages of a report, cannot make a fair decision.
With this year's conference over, Taiwanese officials will return home to implement what they've learned here into the country's defense, while U.S. officials will head to Washington and urge decision makers to continue helping Taiwan. Devin Tai and Jaime Okan in Washington, D.C. for TaiwanPlus.
Labor groups are condemning a lack of pro-worker policies from the main presidential candidates. As the campaign moves into its final 100 days, labor rights activists held a rally in the Capitol. John Van Trieste was there.
Soaked by the rain and surrounded by police, a group of labor activists gather in Taipei with a message for candidates in the upcoming presidential election that demands for better working conditions are not going away. Since they banded together in 2016, the group has been holding rallies before every presidential vote. But this time, just 100 days before people go to the polls, there's a different kind of anger in the air. There could be 4 serious presidential hopefuls this time, but the activists say each of the candidates has been too busy attacking each other to pay attention to workers' problems.
到目前为止都还没有正式的一个立场来表态说要去挺劳动政策的，或者是说有发布这个劳动政策白皮书的部分。
Disillusionment with mainstream parties runs high here. The tiny Labor Party is one of the contingents out in force. But these protesters still want to make it clear that worker support can't be taken for granted.
那这4个总统候选人对我来说，目前我看起来都是一个比较是偏重资本家的这个立场的。我们也希望说能够让这些总统候选人可以看到，这个劳工的选票其实是如果是你需要的，有一些彻底的改变，在这个阶段应该是非常重要。
There are 7 specific changes they want. Some are familiar, like calls for higher wages and more days off. But recent events have added to the list of demands. A factory explosion in late September killed 10 people and injured over 100 more. Inspectors later found the factory had committed numerous safety violations leading up to the tragedy. Firefighters, who lost 4 of their colleagues in the disaster, say this isn't an isolated case. They want greater workplace safety protections and bigger penalties for factory owners who break the law.
这已经是台湾在这10年来第3起的集体殉职事件了，所以消防员非常的愤慨。为什么政府长期的去漠视消防员的职业安全问题，以及不让消防员组织工会为自己发声？
As the campaign enters its final stages, there are plenty of other events, including the upcoming National Day celebrations, which are likely to grab attention. But in the drizzle, these activists say they won't stand for ignoring the problems faced by the country's workers any longer. Howard Zhang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The leaders of a communist party in Taiwan have been accused of taking money to influence upcoming elections. Tiffany Wong has more.
Protesting U.S. influence in Taiwan. These are members of the Taiwan People's Communist Party, a fringe group advocating unification with China. Their leaders, now facing trial in Taiwan. Prosecutors say Chairman Lin De-Wang, Vice Chairman Zheng Jianxing, and one other received instructions and funding from Beijing for close to a decade. It's an accusation they deny.
基本上我参与政治20几年来，我每一次选举都是自己出钱出力。 从来没有人给我赞助。那时候我们有一些自愿来的朋友，从基隆、从桃园。那我们想说，那你从这么远来，对不对？我给你一个车马费，合不合理？
It's not illegal to be a communist or support unification in Taiwan, but it is illegal to get support from a hostile nation like China. That's due to the Anti-Infiltration Act, a law passed in 2020 to protect Taiwan's elections from foreign interference. The law prevents people from canvassing, disrupting assemblies, and spreading disinformation with the direction or funding of a hostile foreign power. Taiwan frequently faces cyber attacks and disinformation campaigns from Chinese actors targeting its democratic institutions. A report released earlier this year by Doublethink Lab, a Taiwanese NGO that researches Chinese influence overseas, showed that Taiwan was the country most influenced by China in society and media. China conducts campaigns abroad to promote pro-China rhetoric under the umbrella term United Front Work.
Starting from last December, actually after our recent election, there are more and more, a lot of United Front Work activities right now here in Taiwan, a lot.
3 other people whose organizations received funding from China to try and influence Taiwanese society were indicted for violating the Anti-Infiltration Act earlier this year. With presidential elections coming up in Taiwan next year, authorities are on high alert for any suspected Chinese influence campaigns, and voters will need to judge for themselves where a candidate's true loyalty lies. Joseph Wu and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is preparing for Typhoon Koinu, which is expected to make landfall on the southeast coast early on Thursday. Some businesses closed and access to beaches was restricted after the government issued a land warning. Flights and ferries to outlying islands have been canceled, and people in some coastal cities have been told to stay home from school and work. Koinu could be the second typhoon to make landfall this year after Typhoon Haikui in early September. The offshore Jinmen Islands have just one animal shelter, and with only a single vet and limited resources, it's currently in need of help. Our reporter Sandy Chi went there to check out this center and see how it's helping to keep the local wildlife healthy.
This Burmese python is having its wound cleaned and a fresh bandage applied after it was rescued from being caught in a fishing net. It's being treated at this animal rescue center, the only one here in the outlying Jinmen Islands, Taiwan's closest point to China. The person caring for all the needy animals is Chen Ting, the center's sole veterinarian. She's been working here since 2022.
其实我觉得就是在我生长的这个过程中，野生动物其实陪伴我面对很多困难，所以我就觉得说，我现在有这个能力的话，我也想要跟他们一起面对他们在野外面对的困难，这样子。
The shelter was established in 2015. In the 8 years since, the number of injured animals the center treats has grown rapidly. In its first full year, it treated 200 animals. 7 years later, it saw 700. To date, the center has handled over 2,800 cases, with the only vet specializing in wild animals in the county. There aren't many large animals in Jinmen, so most of the ones that end up here are small. Around 80% of them are birds and 20% are snakes.
鸟最多就是落草的雏幼鸟，对他们可能因为民众修剪树木啊，或是清理冷气的时候被挖出来这样子，然后被送到我们这里来。蛇类的话就是以缠到网子是最多的，就是鸡舍会有一些防蛇用的渔网。
Another threat to the wild animals in Jinmen are the county's many roads, with cars often striking them as they try to cross. Since she started, Chen says she's found working at the rescue center extremely rewarding.
觉得很感动，因为动物可以好好活着，就是野生动物救伤最大的目的。
But it hasn't been easy. Chen says it's frustrating when locals react to snakes released back into the wild.
我们放蛇的时候，有时候会比较偷偷摸摸。其实我觉得蛮可悲的啦，对于这些蛇而言，其实明明都是这个生态系里面很重要的物种，它们都是不可或缺的一份子。
She also worries about Jinmen's local ecology. The region has been developing rapidly in recent years, with many new houses and roads. This has destroyed habitats for much of the local wildlife. But Chen has hope for the future. She wants the center to recruit more staff and buy better equipment. Most importantly, she wants to help educate the locals more about animals and their welfare.
我自己比较希望是民众可以多去认识身边的动物。对，其实对一般我们这里送进来的动物而言，他们常常是因为人为的因素去受伤的。
Chen and her staff of 3 work 7 days a week to keep the animals here safe. And if she doesn't do it, no one else will. Alex Chen and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
It's World Vegetarian Month, a chance for hardcore carnivores to try something different. And in Taiwan, a pair of entrepreneurs are trying to demonstrate it's not as hard as you might think. Sally Jensen went to meet them.
This is one of the most popular dishes in Taiwan, pork belly. But what's sizzling on the pan is a new take on an old favorite. This is a vegan pork belly developed by a Taiwanese American startup called Lipid. The company has produced and patented a plant-based fat which resembles animal fat without harming any animals. It's now being served in some Taipei restaurants.
This could be a solution to the general kind of plant-based meat market because there isn't a quality plant-based fat that can mimic the mouthfeel, texture, and also the flavor delivery of animal fat.
It's a first in a country where traditional dishes are meat-laden and Western-style fast food is growing in popularity.
It looks like pork belly, it smells like pork belly, and it certainly tastes like pork belly. But this bacon mac and cheese is much more than that. It's a turning point in Taiwan's growing trend towards veganism.
Veganism, which avoids the use of all animal products, is on the rise in Taiwan. But many here, as Buddhists and Taoists, have long practiced meat avoidance in their diets. As for younger Taiwanese, according to one of the country's leading animal protection groups, they have other reasons for cutting back on meat.
很多年轻人都开始吃素，气候变迁也是变成一个很及时，我们马上要面对的问题，大家都可以贡献。那个贡献就是你要从这个蔬食的 多多选择蔬食开始。
Research from the UK's Oxford University has found that a vegan diet results in 75% less climate heating emissions, water pollution, and land use than meat-eating diets. But despite those statistics and wider climate consciousness, a domestic survey by the Environment and Animal Society in Taiwan showed that meat consumption continues to rise, reflecting the challenges faced by local consumers.
Just as, like me, I like braised pork belly, but at some point, I just don't want to, either I don't want to harm the animals, either I don't want to do that much harm to the environment, but I have a second choice.
The option might now be more readily available on the menu, but even with a vegan pork belly, encouraging consumers to make that choice could remain a tall order. Eason Chen and Sally Jensen for TaiwanPlus.
After the break, do you want some of this? Taiwanese sumo fighters gear up for the World Championships.
Taiwan is celebrating National Day. Tune in to TaiwanPlus for live coverage with Leslie Liao and Betty Chen. We'll have a front row view of the celebrations with performances, commentary, and a live translation of the presidential address. 112th National Day of the Republic of China. Coming Tuesday, October 10th at 9 a.m. on TaiwanPlus.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. A deadly shooting at one of Thailand's busiest and most famous shopping malls has shaken the nation. The suspected attacker, a minor, will be charged with premeditated murder and illegal firearms possession. Joyce Zeng has the latest.
Chaotic scenes out of Bangkok after a shooter opened fire in one of the city's busiest shopping malls, Siam Paragon, killing 2 people and critically injuring 5.
We see all the people run. We don't understand why it happened. And so we go after them. And after that we hear a shot, very shots.
ด้วยเพราะว่าตอนวิ่งหนีไม่มีใครบอกแล้วอย่างหนึ่งที่เนี่ยทุกคนวิ่งกันอย่างเงี้ยเป็นประจำเพราะว่าทุกคนวิ่งตามดาราบ้างอะไรบ้างแล้วเหมือนมันไม่ได้มีใครบอกเขาว่าเราต้องหนีเพราะอะไร
Located in a dense, heavily congested commercial district, the mall is usually packed with locals and tourists. Police disarmed and detained the 14-year-old suspected shooter within an hour of the incident. The weapon used was a modified handgun that was originally designed to fire blanks. Authorities say the minor appears to suffer from mental illness.
ผู้ต้องหาเป็นเยาวชนมันอยู่ในความเป็นพรบเรื่องของเด็กอันนี้เรื่องผู้ต้องหาขออย่าถามเป็นเยาวชนเราทำทุกมาตรการในการป้องกันเหตุกับนักท่องเที่ยวมากเราทั้งห้างเองที่เป็นซอฟต์ทาร์เก็ตเราก็มาแต่เหตุเนี่ยบางทีมันout of control จริงๆ
Police have confirmed the 2 people killed were visitors from China and Myanmar. This comes as Thailand is working to revive its tourism sector, a crucial driver for Southeast Asia's second largest economy. Just weeks ago, the country's newly appointed Prime Minister, Srettha Thavisin, waived visas for Chinese nationals and personally greeted the first to arrive under the new plan at the airport. This incident could now hamper his efforts to attract more tourists. It also comes just days before the 1-year anniversary of Thailand's worst mass killing. Last October, an ex-policeman killed dozens of people, mostly children, in a gun and knife attack at a rural nursery in northeastern Thailand. Analysts say this kind of violence may be part of a deeper social problem.
Even though mass shooting is not very common in Thailand, but every day we would hear about incidents about violence, people killing each other.
Many say youth mental health, something families have traditionally been expected to take responsibility for, has also been getting worse since the pandemic. With investigations into the mall shooting still ongoing, people are watching to see if the new administration will step up and address the issue head on. Kamashu and Joyce Tsen for TaiwanPlus.
For the first time in U.S. history, the Speaker of the House of Representatives has been voted out.
The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
House members voted 216 to 210 to remove Republican Kevin McCarthy as Speaker. The vote was largely along party lines, though several right-wing Republicans voted against McCarthy. The House will be led by an interim Speaker until a permanent replacement is found. The vote to oust McCarthy comes just a few days after Congress approved emergency funding to prevent a government shutdown. Jumping out of a plane and falling thousands of meters towards the Earth is not a hobby that's for everybody. But that's not the case for a 104-year-old skydiver in the U.S. who's just taken a record-breaking plunge. Bing Wong has the story.
One for the books. 104-year-old Dorothy Hoffner tumbles out of a skydiving plane in Chicago and falling 4,000 meters to the ground, officially becoming the oldest person to skydive.
Because it's a wonderful feeling. Just, to see the earth under you, so pretty. Sunday was a beautiful day. And all that green grass down there, wonderful.
Born and raised in Chicago, Hoffner first tried skydiving at 100 years old. When a new record for oldest person ever to skydive was set in May 2022 by a 103-year woman from Sweden, Hoffner set her sights on breaking that record. Hundreds of people watched her 7-minute descent to the ground and into the record books.
I think a lot of people that were sitting and watching it, or maybe watching this, maybe thinking, God, if she can do it, why can't I?
When Hoffner first skydived 4 years ago, she had to be pushed out of the plane, but this time she confidently jumped out head first. She hopes to inspire others to try new things.
I think if you have the opportunity to go and enjoy it. And you would enjoy it.
Hoffner will turn 105 in December and is looking to explore other heights by going on a hot air balloon trip next summer. Chris Ma and Bing Wong for TaiwanPlus.
When you think of sumo wrestlers, you generally think of Japan, but Taiwan's also got a strong sumo culture, and competitors here are gearing up for the 24th Sumo World Championships in Japan this month. Our reporter Sandy Chi meets them in training.
Crashing together and grappling their way around the ring. These are Taiwanese wrestlers practicing the 1,500-year-old Japanese martial art of sumo, a sport that combines strength, speed, and mental discipline.
快很准，然后冷静，因为他比赛的时间很短。那你在比赛前，你要先想好跟对手你要做什么样的动作，然后开始的时候你要马上反应出来。
我觉得就是相扑这个活动，其实它算是一个蛮瞬间爆发力的，而且很吃临场感。
Unlike professional sumo wrestling, the annual World Sumo Championships is an amateur event, and both men and women can take part. Men began competing in the event from 1992 and women in 2001. Here I am at a sumo wrestling training center in northern Taiwan, where 17 Taiwanese wrestlers have gathered here to gear up for the Sumo World Championships in Tokyo this month. The competition is expected to attract entrants from 28 countries. Taiwan's team is made up of amateur wrestlers aged between 14 and 35. All have backgrounds in judo and wrestling.
脚力跟柔道的摔的方式就很雷同那个相扑这样子，对啊，就是他们本身就是会有摔的动作啊、推的动作跟拉的动作。
Many of the wrestlers come from Taiwan's indigenous people groups.
我是原住民，我们那个部落有一个摔跤的习俗，海记摔的习俗，然后就有这个底子在。
But coming together to train isn't easy. There's only one sumo training center in the whole country, and many have to go to work or school on weekdays.
我平常是做物流，那就是有搬重物的时候，我就拿一个重物，然后跑去没有人的地方就练深蹲这样，然后或者是扛重物爬楼梯这样。
For some young wrestlers, such as 14-year-old Wang Juezhong, who has been training for 7 years. The championships offer a chance to overcome their fears.
一开始要撞出去的时候，是会有阴影，就是不敢撞，是撞到头骨，然后有点痛。
Despite the challenges, Team Taiwan believe they are capable of making the top 3 in all weight divisions. And these wrestlers are ready to give their blood, sweat and tears to show what they've got in the ring. Scott Huang and Sunny Chi for TaiwanPlus.
In more sports news, Taiwanese boxer Gan Jiawei took silver in the men's 71-kilogram category. That's after he was ruled out of fighting in the final round due to injury. The games, which are being held in Hangzhou, China, also saw Taiwan's baseball team advance to the super round after beating Hong Kong in a 15-0 shutout. Team Taiwan has gone undefeated in the group stages, winning against Thailand and South Korea. The Asian Games have 5 days left to go. On the medals table, China is ranked first, followed by Japan and South Korea. Taiwan, competing as Chinese Taipei, is also riding high in 6th place. Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, today we leave you with images of dozens of dogs and their owners splashing around an outdoor swimming pool in southern England. I'm Liao. Take care, and I'll see you next time.